Hey guys, welcome back. This is Phil from underKG.com, and let's take a look at OnePlus 5, the latest from OnePlus. OnePlus is the name of the company, yes, you know it, and the 5 is the model name. OnePlus 1, 2, 3, 3T, and 5. 4 because it's some lucky number in Asian culture. Anyway, let's get inside the OnePlus 5. Firstly, the design. I can surely say that this is a shameless copy of the iPhone 7 Plus. I usually don't say it. I actually do not like the people who say everything is copycat of iPhone, but this clearly is an iPhone imitation. The antenna lines are okay. Well, this is getting common in the Chinese phones, so I'll just let that go. Dual camera, portrait dual camera, well, yeah. But the secondary microphone and the circular LED right next to that in exact position of the iPhone 7 Plus, I think that's sort of copycat. And the OnePlus logo sits right there in the exact position in the Apple logo in the iPhone 7 Plus, but I mean, logo position, I really don't want to nitpick, so I'm just gonna let that part go. The reason why I'm being so picky about the copycatness of the OnePlus 5 is because it's actually pretty well built. This is actually a very well carved full metal device with the, nice lines, and the finishes are good, 2.5D glass. That's why I am really angry about the design itself. The engineering was great, but designers, would you mind giving some kind of creativity to your phones like you did with the previous ones? You guys were doing good. What happened? A few of my minor complaints include that it's really prone to sweaty hands. Like I have a pretty sweaty palm, and it leaves fingerprint really easily. Something that you might care a bit more than that is that it doesn't have a water or dust resistance, at least in a certified manner. And before we get to the other parts, let's start talking about some great parts. It's got Snapdragon 835 octa-core processor with either 6GB or 8GB of RAM. Everything is buttery smooth, maybe a bit too buttery in the scrolling issue. We'll get to that in just a second. And the interface itself is very stockish. It's based on the Android 7.1.1 Nougat, and they really have modified the least out of the stock Android to make things only better. Like the buttons over here, you can change it to the on-screen navigation bar, so soft key or the hardware keys can be chosen. And even with the soft key, you can actually swap buttons. Button layout can be changed, although you cannot add or remove a button out of it. Like some other devices like Huawei or Samsung even included the auto hide function, but it doesn't have that. But OnePlus has its own customization. You can always enable the home button even with the soft key, or if you're using the hardware keys, then you can assign actions to each and one of the buttons, long press or double tap to home, recent, and back. One part that I'm not exactly happy with is that they have weird way of the backlights on the keys. They activate for 1.5 seconds right after you press the button, and that's it. They get turned off automatically. The Samsung phones have the same mechanism, and they kill the options to change that. But there's a third-party app called the Galaxy Button Lights to make that possible, but OnePlus does not have anything like that. It's pretty annoying. And the next thing in the great things lineup is the battery. It's got 3300 mAh of battery built inside, and it's pretty solid. It successfully gave me up to 6 hours and 20 minutes on average of screen on time. As always, I have been using 4G LTE network all the time. I've been surfing web for very much, which consumes a lot of battery compared to other light tasks like social media. So if you use Wi-Fi more often and less web surfing and more of a lighter task, then you should be able to get like 7-8 hours out of that screen on time. And another part is that charging. It has OnePlus Dash Charge, and it really dashes into your battery. It uses USB Type-C port, and you have to use their proprietary Dash Charge charger and the cable in order to use that super fast charging. How fast, if you ask? 50% battery in just 30 minutes. Fully charging the battery takes about an hour and a half, which is about the same as the other flagship phones, but you're gonna get 75% just in 40 minutes, and that is going to be more than enough for you to last a day with OnePlus 5. Now that we're done talking about the great things, let's go to the things that were not so great. Firstly, the display. So 5.5 inches of an Amoled panel. They got it from Samsung, and they call it the Optic AMOLED. What it really is a pen-tile layout, 5.5 inches of a full HD AMOLED panel, which they haven't changed since the OnePlus 3. Well, one slight difference is that they put it upside down. They have 3 screen calibration, default sRGB, DCI-P3, and you can even set your custom color, cold, warm, and the color temperature gets changed. And the thing is, whichever color calibration that you choose, they lack the punch. The colors are there, and they're pretty accurate, but they're not vibrant enough. And it has something called the jello effect that many people have been talking about. So when you scroll on the menu, you see that some items are following the top items slower than usual. So if I scroll like that, you can see that not every element, not every line on the screen is in the same speed. So that's what people call the jelly effect. It's jellyish. The reason behind this is because this panel is upside down. So you put it backside and scroll that with the same contents, everything is fine. No jello, upside down, jello, right there. And as annoying as these are, I would have been fine with it. I really don't think they matter that much. I could have lived with it if OnePlus customer support has been at least somewhat better than what they did. They were, simply put, they were mostly blaming your eyes. And they also said it's totally natural and all the OnePlus 5 units are really great displays. So after the fuss and the internet going crazy, OnePlus promised that they're going to fix this with software update. Although I'm not really sure if you can solve something that's caused by upside down screen panel with a software update. I hope that's true. The next thing that I wasn't a fan of was the speaker. They have a single speaker there. The sound quality itself is pretty good. It's got a solid bass, not as good as an iPhone or the iPad, but it's got a bass. Treble's good, but I don't like the location. It's really too easy to block, but a lot of phones, including the Samsung Galaxy S series flagships, have the speaker there, so I'm just gonna let that thing go, but it doesn't have a stereo speaker. That is the only speaker that you have on the phone, and in 2017 flagship, I think that's a bit more than off the trend. Well, instead, maybe OnePlus focus on the camera. The dual camera, they actually say in the box, dual camera, clearer photos. I don't know what that was. And it has dual cameras that support optical zoom. And the zoom lens, the telescope lens, is it's not as perfect. Being able to zoom in right away, right straight away without the digital zoom is really cool, as it was from the iPhone 7 Plus. But there really are a lot less details available in the telephoto lens than it is in the normal angle lens. Although the portrait mode available... Okay, I don't know what's happening here. Although the portrait mode was actually better than I thought. It does a better job than Xiaomi, perhaps as good as the iPhone 7 Plus is, although I wasn't really that satisfied with the iPhone 7 Plus either. But the thing is, it doesn't have OIS and it makes it very easy to produce shaky photos in low lighting conditions. Brighter outside days, they're fine, but I mean, come on. It's 2017 and all the phones have pretty good photos in bright outside, especially for the flagship. What they differentiate is in the low lighting condition, and this isn't exactly good at those conditions. Okay, and the camera is making a weird noise. Maybe you should want to hear it. And perhaps something that I was most disappointed with was the selfie cam. Firstly, it's really dark. It's at f2.0. And thus it makes really shaky photos, and even in the brighter conditions the photos are not that good. Darker conditions, details are really miserable. And of course it doesn't have the OIS, nor does it have the autofocus. 2017 selfie cam at this level? Come on. So that's all I have to tell you about the OnePlus 5. It's selling at $479. It starts from $479. That's for 6 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage. And that, I really can't say that it's a cheap phone. It's the most expensive that OnePlus has ever gotten for their phones. The flagship killer, that was what OnePlus was aiming for, never settle. And it seems like they're settling here. They really haven't changed much from OnePlus 3. They did change something, the camera, and they're not really that good. Aside from that, they're using the same panel, same mono speaker, same basic layout, worse design. And there are even some things that got worse. There's now a jello effect out of scrolling of your screen, and the OnePlus customer support doesn't think that's a problem. There's no always on display, there's no water or dust resistance, and you can't even expect it to get any better by software update, because OnePlus has made it clear that they're cutting the software support for OnePlus 2. That runs on Snapdragon 810. That's less than 2 years old, and they have only provided one major software update, and that was their flagship. And OnePlus is not like Samsung. They don't launch like 50 devices a year. They launched one, well actually two, because there was OnePlus X. And they're not giving Android Nougat for OnePlus 2. That's totally ridiculous. So I really don't have much trust left for OnePlus. You really get what you pay for, that's the common sense. And I really always wish that there is something or some company that breaks the belief, that rule of thumb that I have, but this is no exception. They took out everything that they thought were not needed, and that's how they cut the price. When you say it's a good bang for the buck, it has to be a same quality. Same quality, but you cut down the retail processes, so you cut on the middleman cost, or like you cut on the advertisements, so you saved up there. Something like that, that's a bang for the buck. But taking all the flagship premium features and finishes and cutting off on your designer wages and calling it bang for the buck, I don't think that makes any sense. is $479 and cheaper than the other major flagships because it packs less. You're not getting the same thing for a cheaper price. You pay less and you get less. So that was my quick look on OnePlus 5. I hope it helped. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment. You can always meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and we'll see you guys later. Ciao.